hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Alleluia. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Alleluia. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Alleluia.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel of Matthew. Jesus said to the 12, "Fear no one. Nothing is concealed that will not be revealed. No secret that will not be known. What I say to you in the dark, speak in the light. What you hear whispered, proclaim on the housetops. And do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but not the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in Gehenna. Are not 2 sparrows sold for pennies? And yet no one of them falls to the ground without your Abba God's knowledge. As for you, even the hairs on your head are counted. So do not be afraid. You are worth more than an entire flock of sparrows. Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will acknowledge before Abba God in heaven. And whoever denies me before others, I will deny before Abba God in heaven." The good news of salvation.
Good morning. On this Father's Day, we certainly wish to recognize and to give gratitude to all of our fathers, grandfathers, stepfathers, and this incredible gift of fatherhood that today we celebrate. Happy Father's Day. Initially, today's readings are shocking. Violence, death, and yet the further we dig into these readings, the more invitation and challenge that we uncover. The readings juxtapose violence and death, violence and justice, violence and peace. Yet, even all the hairs of your head are counted. So do not be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. The intimacy of our God. What sort of God do we have that has counted even all of the hairs of your head? And if you, who are made in the image and likeness of God, are these not too your marching orders? This God who holds you in such intimacy, moment by moment by moment, so that at the count of 3, you would cease to exist were it not for the will of God. Are these not my marching orders? That I too yearn for this sort of intimacy with my brothers and sisters, regardless of the color of their skin? So how do these readings apply to us in the light of today's reality? And our liturgy team dug into this and came up with these thoughts. We cannot be silent. Nothing will be concealed. Everything will be brought to the light. There is a power in speaking the truth, in making it known. And one question, How do we bring what's in the family mass community to what's happening today? And one member shared the experience of talking with a Black friend recently and asking for advice what this person, as a white person, could do. And the Black friend responded, make a Black friend. And if you have one, make another. And finally, the recognition that we're being called to do something today. After receiving these thoughts from our liturgy preparation team, I began to reflect upon a few of my own experiences recently. And twice over the last couple of weeks, we gathered online, a group of our faculty and staff from one of the inner city schools I work with in Chicago. And the goal of this safe space was to create this space for processing the communal pain from the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, and countless others. And after brief introductions and our one-word intention of why we came to this meeting that day, one of our Black leaders put this up on the screen, this quote that read, "The crazy thing is, they think this is all about George Floyd, when we're still crying tears for Emmett Till." And then she went on to lay a few of the ground rules. Number 1, lean in to your discomfort. Our discomfort is an indicator that we're engaging our bias. Lean into it. 2, step up, step up. Sometimes people of color feel an obligation to educate in these sorts of conversations. But in this one, step up. And 3, monitor airtime, share equity of voice. And then another Black leader went on to talk about intent versus impact. Intent versus impact. And probably the best example I can give of this was an experience recently that Marcy and I attended at a prayer vigil. Some of you were at this as well, here in Oak Park, organized by the community of churches. And one Black man stood up and he put it to us this way: I am 3/5 of a person. That's how we're seen. That's how white people see us, not as whole people. And I began to reflect to myself, if I really don't see this man as whole, if I don't see him as holy as well. And I began to reflect and dig further into this. And I came across the 3/5 compromise that was written into the 1787 U.S. Constitution at the Constitutional Convention. And it essentially was a compromise between the North and the South to boost the power of slave states in the federal union. Intent versus impact. The intent may have been positive to boost the power of slave states and the government, yet we continue to experience the impact this has created to this day in our country, that Black people are less than, even in our systems. And as I pondered this further, it occurred to me that, wow, seeing people differently was actually baked into our nation's founding documents. And one educational leader and colleague of mine put it this way recently in an email. It was the day after the looting and the riots on the West Side a couple of weeks ago. And he said this: our nation was born in protest and revolution, and it is long past time that we address head on and without equivocation our nation's original sin. A sin that was embedded into our founding documents that presumed that Black people were less than. This is our foundational sin. Just one other quick example of intent versus impact. I can invite our Black faculty and staff to set up a conversation on racial reconciliation. that intent might seem to be good. If done improperly, my own processing of my white issues on the matters today could actually enact trauma on our Black brothers and sisters in that conversation. Intent versus impact. I do believe we are experiencing the rebirth of our nation today. And like all births, there's no escaping the pains of labor. The good news is that our nation's original sin, like all sin, can be healed and held in the loving embrace of our God, who has even counted all of the hairs on your head. I experienced this kind of intimacy with my own dad when he used to take me out in the yard to play catch with the ball, or took me to the ball game with my mitt ready to catch a foul ball. And these are our marching orders for the sort of intimacy with which we treat all of our brothers and sisters. I cannot imagine one of our students in Austin talking about their father as 3/5 of a person. For you are whole, I am whole. Our Black brothers and sisters are whole. And on this, the longest day of the year, the summer solstice, we have maximum light to reflect upon our loving fathers who treat all of their children equally. Oftentimes when I'm walking through our neighborhood and hearing the sounds of beautiful chimes like these, I'm immediately drawn back to my father. It connects me immediately. And you see, my father loved to make wind chimes. And not just the sorts of wind chimes that came in a box and ready-made kit. He would cut each of those pipes meticulously, exactly the right length, and take string and weave them all together, and then find his own box and package them. And he loved to gift these sets to other people. And when I would hear these wind chimes ringing in our backyard or walking down the street, it would immediately ground me, call me back to my deeper self, and attune me once again to the right frequency. Thank you, Dad. Thank you all, dads. Happy Father's Day.